As I speak with people that are coming on board with our organization as new agents, one of the first questions that they ask me, and actually maybe it's not one of the first ones, they usually ask, how do they get paid, right? But they ask somewhere along the line, very commonly is the question, do I need an LLC or an S-Corporation or something like that in order to get started? And so the short answer is no, you don't need it to be paid commissions from our organization. We can pay you directly just under your name, just like you would. And then, you can file that on your taxes and whatnot with your CPA. And so for what I'm going to explain to you in the rest of this video, I want to be very clear. I am not a licensed professional in the accounting space. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a tax professional or anything like that. I'm a business owner and I've been doing this for a decent amount of time. And so what I'm going to tell you, you probably want to make sure that you verify it with your accountant or CPA before you take action on it. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way. So an LLC is an entity in and of itself that is going to protect you from liability. So the first reason that anybody wants to make themselves or register an organization with their state or local municipality is because they need to have that protection. And so what that does is it makes a dividing line between the things that are associated with the LLC and the things that are not. And so, for example, if you own a bunch of real estate, and you're going to get started in the merchant services industry and you're afraid for some reason that somebody might sue you, which doesn't happen very often, but I'm sure it does happen, then having an LLC is a hedge of protection, right? You're putting the business of your merchant services in a box and you're putting everything that is associated with that business into this box. And that means that all the things over here that you also own, right, for real estate or whatever, which also might make sense to put into an LLC of its own, are protected from any issues that you have over here, and vice versa. If you have any issues over here with these, things that you're doing, the things over here won't be affected. Now, there are some details to that, and again, that's why you want to talk to an attorney about specific use cases and things like that. But that's the long and short of it, right? You're basically creating a separate entity that acts on its own and that you are working kind of like underneath that umbrella when you're doing your merchant services activities. Now, the second thing about an LLC is if you have partners in the business and you want to have multiple people associated with it, that's one of the basic reasons why you would need an LLC or an S-Corporation in order to do business, right? Because then under that, you then create an operating agreement where everyone agrees on how you're operating, whose responsibilities are what, and who gets paid what, who owns what percentage, and things like that. So that's, again, another reason that you might need an LLC. But for the most part, independent agents that are just going out there to sell payment processing, you can file the income that you earn from your activities under a Schedule C on your 1040, even if you have an LLC. And so the way that works is a single member LLC is seen by the IRS just as part of you as a person. So your state and local government, which handles most of the things that are going to go on as in regards to your business activities, that's going to provide you the legal protections that we talked about, where like you're putting your business in a box, so to speak. For tax purposes, though, that LLC will just kind of fall under you as a person, and again, you can just file it under Schedule C under your normal taxes as a 1040. However, once you get, and everybody's tax situation is different, but my understanding is that somewhere between $40,000 and $70,000 a year in profit, right, in revenue, net revenue. Somewhere in that range is where you would want to file what's called an S-Corp election with the IRS. Now, an S-Corp election just means that you file an LLC, but the IRS sees you for tax purposes as an S-Corporation. And what this changes is how much self-employment tax that you pay. The reason that you save the money is because at that point, you're able to pay yourself what the IRS calls a reasonable salary. And then that reasonable salary gets, you pay the employer side of the tax, which is essentially what self-employment tax is on a Schedule C, but you're paying it on the portion of your salary. And then the rest of your distributions from the rest of the income from the company comes in, and you don't have to pay that employer side taxes on it. You only pay the income tax on it, if that makes sense. So you're not getting double taxed on it, so to speak, or not having to pay that salary portion of the tax on the portion above your salary, that you're able to take that as a distribution, and then it just adds to your income, which increases your adjusted gross income, and then you put your deductions against it and whatnot. And then you get your tax rate and go from there. Again, CPA will be useful in this, but these are the things to consider. So number one, if you want some sort of protection to help you with your current assets, which again, if you are a young person and you don't have any assets, what is it that you're putting on the line, right? The LLC is almost like an insurance policy at that point. And if you don't have anything to insure, then there's really no point to it. But again, you put it in a box, and now all the activities that you're doing are protected. The second thing, again, is whether or not you want to do an S-Corp election would be determined by how much income you're earning. So in the beginning, I suppose it would make sense to Schedule C on your regular taxes. And then once you get up to the certain point where you and your CPA decide that it makes sense to file an S-Corp election, you would file that S-Corp election so that in that tax year, you would be able to pay yourself a salary and then reduce the amount of taxes you pay on the surplus above your salary. So hopefully this helps. I know that wasn't like the simple answer to the question, but it does have some details that everybody's specific situation that you need to consider before you make that decision. But long story short is you do not have to have it for us. Like, we're not going to require that you have an LLC. You can just come to us under your name and give us a W-9 with your social security number on it, and we will pay you and provide you a 1099 with that information on it at the end of the year that you can use to then file your taxes and create a Schedule C. I hope this helps. I'm excited for you guys that are looking forward to getting into the merchant services industry and coming on board with us. One thing for those of you that are already on board with us, if you are under your personal information, you are starting to make a good income, and you want to add an LLC, or you want to file something else, you are welcome to do that, and then provide us with a new W-9, and we will just roll your commissions up under that entity and provide you a 1099 under that entity instead of under your personal information. So hope that helps. See you guys on the other side. Thanks for joining the winning team. We'll talk to you guys soon.